We all value our time, so we'll just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into the world of cybersecurity with Cowabunga Computers.
All right.
They shared a story recently that really highlights how vulnerable we are in the digital world, even when, we think we're protected.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about this is that it all starts out like a regular morning, right? It's 4:55 a.m. in Honolulu.
Oh.
Most people are asleep, but not the team over at Cowabunga. They're monitoring their client systems around the clock, and that's when they spot something unusual.
So it's 4:55 in the morning. Imagine you're maybe having a cup of coffee, totally oblivious to the silent alarm going off in the digital world. What's going on?
Well, their system flags a remote access application that's running on a client's computer.
And remote access applications, for listeners who, might not be familiar, those are generally harmless tools
Exactly, yeah.
that let someone access your computer remotely, which is helpful,
Yeah.
if you're working from home or if you need IT support.
Hmm.
But the timing here, 4:55 a.m., that's a red flag.
Huge red flag. I mean, who's trying to remotely access a computer at 4:55 in the morning?
Yeah, it's like hearing a knock on your door at that time.
You
You know something's off.
something's not right.
So Cowabunga does what any good cybersecurity team would do, which is they terminate session immediately. They are not taking any chances.
Smart move.
But this is where it gets even more interesting.
Yeah.
21 minutes later, there's another attempt to access the client's computer.
Oh, boy.
This time, it's a different remote access application, which tells Cowabunga that this is not just some random glitch. This is someone actively and intentionally trying to break in.
This is a big deal now.
Yeah, now it's a full-blown digital home invasion. What's going through your mind knowing that someone is trying to force their way into your client's computer?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of times, we think about cyber attacks and we think about, oh, they're just trying to get your data. But a lot of times it's more than that. Sometimes the goal is to actually disrupt operations, to spy on activities or just to cause chaos, right? So in that moment, the big question is, what is this attacker after and how do we stop them before any damage is done?
So Cowabunga knows they're in a race against time.
Absolutely.
They try calling the clients, sending on-screen alerts, doing everything they can to get their attention.
Right.
But there's nothing.
Silence.
No answer. The tension is building.
Yeah.
Do they get a hold of the client?
Well, this is where I think that human element of cybersecurity really comes in, right?
Okay.
Because you see these scammers, they're master manipulators, right?
Right.
They thrive on creating this sense of panic because they know that when you've got someone who's confused and isolated, they're more likely to just follow instructions without really thinking critically.
So while Cowabunga is trying to reach the client, the scammers are probably doing the exact opposite. They're trying to isolate them, cut off any chance of outside help.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's usually how these scams work, but Cowabunga's not just sitting around waiting for a phone call, right?
So they're not just waiting. What are they doing?
They're like, okay, we're going high alert here. They immediately change the client's passwords, disconnect them from the network, basically cutting off any kind of backdoors that this scammer might have created.
Wow.
They're trained for this. They
Yeah.
take action even without all the information, and that's often what, separates a near miss from a complete disaster.
So they're like the cybersecurity first responders. They're securing the scene. But what about the client? Do they ever figure out what's going on?
So eventually the client calls back.
Okay.
And this is where it gets interesting. And I think this is something that a lot of people listening can probably relate to.
Okay.
The client was on the phone with who they thought was HP support.
Oh no. I can totally see myself in that situation.
Yeah.
You're desperate for help and you just hope that the number you found online is legit.
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
Well, according to the podcast, the scammer told the client, hey, ignore all these alerts and calls you're getting from Cowabunga. It's just a system error.
Oh, no.
And unfortunately, the client fell for it and actually told Cowabunga that this so-called HP person was helping them fix a problem. It's such a classic tactic. These scammers prey on your trust in these big-name brands. They use official-sounding names, logos, everything to create this illusion of legitimacy, and it's very effective.
It's scary how easily we can be manipulated, especially when we're stressed and looking for a quick solution. But it sounds like Cowabunga had already taken those steps to secure the system.
Right.
So even though the client was kind of unknowingly following the scammer's instructions, there wasn't any real damage done because of the steps that Cowabunga had already taken.
Exactly. And this is why having a dedicated cybersecurity team on your side is so important. they're trained to anticipate these tactics, to take action, even when, like you said, the client might be unknowingly be complicit in this whole scam.
It's like Cowabunga was playing chess and the scammer was playing checkers. They were steps ahead.
Yeah.
So in the end, was the client's data safe?
Yeah.
So in the end, was the client's data safe?
Yeah, that's the good news.
Okay.
Because of Cowabunga's, quick thinking and that proactive defense, no data was compromised.
What a relief. That's a happy ending for our friends in Honolulu and their client.
Mhm.
But this isn't just about one lucky break.
Right.
This is about a much, much bigger issue.
Exactly. This is, shining a light on that constant threat of these cyber attacks and how vulnerable we really are in this digital age. It's so easy to think, oh, it won't happen to me.
Right.
But the reality is anyone can be a target.
It really makes you wonder, what if Cowabunga hadn't been there? What if that client had been relying just on like their own security software or worse, no security measures at all?
And that's the thing. This really underscores the importance of having those multiple layers of protection. It's not enough to just rely on antivirus software or hope for the best. You really need to be proactive, informed, and if you can, have a team of experts in your corner.
So what can our listeners do? What are some practical steps that people can take away from this to better protect themselves?
Well, I think first and foremost, just be wary of any unsolicited calls or emails that you get claiming to be from tech support, especially if they're, creating this sense of urgency or pressuring you to act quickly.
Right.
Legitimate companies, they rarely, if ever, will just contact you out of the blue asking for, personal information or access to your computer.
And what about those support numbers that you find online? Should we just assume those are all fake or?
I always say it's best to err on the side of caution.
Okay.
If you need tech support, try to find that contact info directly from the company's website or their product documentation. Don't just blindly trust the first result that pops up on Google.
That's really good advice. And if you do get one of those, suspicious calls or emails, what's the best course of action?
I would say don't engage, hang up the phone, delete the email. And if you're unsure at all, reach out to a trusted source, get some confirmation, because it's always better to be safe than sorry.
This whole conversation has been really eye-opening.
Oh.
Cybersecurity is so much more than just having the, latest software. It's about awareness, vigilance, and having, like you said, the right team in your corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's it for today's deep dive into the world of cybersecurity. Remember, knowledge is power, and in this digital age, a little paranoia can be a really, really good thing. So stay curious, stay vigilant, and until next time, stay safe out there.